Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm so happy you're here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Okay, finally, we're getting some fall weather, at least here in Alabama, and we're all excited to get into the kitchen and start cooking in our slow cookers, soups, and stews. Okay, we had our small group last night, and I think there were 24 people here. We had 3 slow cookers lined up with Brunswick Stew. And when I tell you there was almost none left, people are so excited about eating that good fall soup and stew. So I want to share some of my favorite recipes for soups and stews and chili. But guys, I have got to start off by telling you about my new favorite slow cooker. It is Beautiful by Drew Barrymore, for those of us who are old enough to remember her in E.T. She has joined Walmart in creating a line of cookware, housewares, and it's called Beautiful by Drew Barrymore. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm just going to pull this slow cooker over. It's truly beautiful. Guys, I have never seen a slow cooker that looks like this. For those of you who can't see, and I'm going to link to all this in my show notes, it is white. It has gold on the lid, and this little thing right here, you can prop your lid up like this when you're serving, and you can put the lid back to keep the food hot. It's digital. It's fabulous. It was the prettiest slow cooker that we had out last night. And I'm going to tell you, it's such a great price point. I bought a second one in cornflower blue, which is actually the color of my Roman shade. And it looks like the monorail silver color that my island is. It's just a very soft, elegant blue. If you are in the need for a new slow cooker, guys, this one's fabulous. It cooked well. It kept food warm. And it's probably half the price, at least, of some of the slow cookers that are not quite as pretty. So I love pretty and practical. That is something I highly recommend. And one reason I like to have a beautiful slow cooker is because most of us, I would think, we have our slow cooker out when we're entertaining, because slow cookers hold a lot. Whether it's a football watch party or just friends coming over, slow cookers sit out and people serve out of them. So I'm just delighted to now have options of beautiful slow cookers that look great in your kitchen. Okay, I'm just going to share a few of the recipes that I'll be making throughout the fall and into the winter. And they're all on the blog. I'll link to all of them. And I'm just going to give you a little overview and a few tips if you decide you want to make them for your people. Okay, last night, as I told you, we did Brunswick Stew. I did my recipe, and then Bobby Hewitt, my best friend's husband, he brought his recipe, which is also on the blog. They were all eaten. There was very little left. And I will say, if you want a fabulous Brunswick stew recipe, you can choose from either of those. And you can also look at his, look at mine, and you can use ingredients from both. Brunswick stew is hard to mess up. And Brunswick stew is not difficult to make, but I feel like it requires a lot of attention at the front end. You've got to get all your ingredients together. You've got to go find whatever smoked meat or barbecue you're going to use. Bobby always uses Bucky's beef brisket. I use that some if I can get to Bucky's. I always get my meat from a barbecue restaurant or drive-through or Bucky's, or this time and I'm excited to share this with y'all. I found some very good smoked vacuum sealed meat at Walmart, which I've got to say it again. Walmart ups its game more every single day. I just can't believe the things that they're carrying, just how they have just totally stepped up and become such a fabulous store where you can get almost anything. It was in the section where you get prepared meats, like the packages of barbecue, package sliced turkey. And I want to say, I'll find it and I'll link to it in my show notes. Guys, the brisket, I got the brisket and then I got a turkey, sliced smoked turkey. And it's from like a real barbecue restaurant that sells this to Walmart. So that's what made me buy it. And I also stood there and before I bought it and I Googled the reviews and it got great reviews. And many people were also very familiar with the smokehouse that partners with Walmart for this. I will say I sampled the brisket before I put it into my slow cooker for the recipe, and it was delicious. And I also, Bobby had brought me on a Sunday, he passed by Buc-ee's and I said, well, just get a pound of Buc-ee's brisket for me as well. And I'll throw it in mine. You need about 2 to 3 pounds of meat per batch. I think you can get by with less, but we like ours really meaty. I had the Buc-ee's beef brisket sitting right next to this Walmart beef brisket. The Walmart version was smoky. It had way less fat than the Buc-ee's. I'm going to be getting that every time I make slow cooker Brunswick stew. So I'll figure out. I'm sorry, guys, that I should have looked that up before I started, but it was great. So you're going to want to find your meats, get all your things together, and you can do a pot of Brunswick stew. I always serve it with my jalapeno cornbread, which is also in the blog, but everybody raved last night. And interestingly, we had several people say they had never had Brunswick stew, and I just found that interesting. So I don't know if that dates some of us who are very familiar with it, but anyway, Brunswick stew, it's always a winner. Another very popular family savvy soup is my spicy hamburger vegetable soup. It is easy. It is inexpensive because your meat is ground chuck. When I go to Fresh Market on Tuesdays in the fall, I always grab 2 pounds of ground chuck and I go ahead and brown it. And whether I brown it and go right ahead and make this soup or brown it and freeze it to pull out for a quick spicy hamburger vegetable soup, it's what I always make as far as a hamburger soup. It is so hearty, zesty, and it's very popular on the blog and it's super easy. So that is a good one if you're looking for a ground beef based soup. It can be made milder if you choose to, instead of using, I call for zesty or spicy V8, you can just use regular. I have several seasonings that you could cut down on. I think I use a packet of Italian dressing mix. It's just got a lot of seasonings, but you can always tamp that down and just make a good hamburger vegetable soup. It's great, great, great. Highly recommend. On that note, and that this little tip will apply to not only the hamburger vegetable soup, it will apply actually all of these but one. I want to toss in a little tip here on potatoes. Most of these I have potatoes in, and one of the easiest and best hacks that I have for potatoes in soup or stew is to get Simply Potatoes is a good brand, and there is another brand, I can't think of the name of it, but in the refrigerated section of most grocery stores, Simply Potatoes and then the other brand that I can't think of, they will have diced potatoes that are in the refrigerated section. They're already diced, perfect size. You can grab those and you don't have to peel or dice or slice potatoes, which I did yesterday. I couldn't find Simply Potatoes in the refrigerated section. So I had some Idaho potatoes. So I just peeled them, diced them. And then I did what you also have to do with these Simply potatoes or any of that kind that you get at the grocery. You've got your potatoes, but before you put those in your slow cooker, you have to steam or microwave them. Microwave steam. I do the Ziploc steamer bags, or you have to put them in a steamer on your stovetop, and you have to basically almost cook them to where they're not rock hard. I do mine until, if you squeeze them through the bag or you just get a fork and press it one, it will have gentle pressure. If you put raw potatoes in a slow cooker, I don't care how long you cook it, it will not catch up to the stew, and it'll ruin your whole entire slow cooker of stew or soup. So always cook those ahead of time. I get the Ziploc steamer bags and I'll put the potatoes in, diced. I will also usually get a cup or two of my frozen diced onion, toss that in there. And then I'll put some butter and salt and pepper, and then I'll shake it up, and then they're super seasoned. And when you add them to the soup or stew, they're just more flavorful. Okay, so that is that tip. Okay, so we have the Brunswick stew and we have the hamburger vegetable soup. If you want a vegetarian version of the spicy hamburger vegetable soup, I've got one that is called, and it's on the blog, Grandma Grace's Vegetable Soup. My precious friend, Cindy Wainwright, shared this recipe with me years ago. It's her husband, Lonnie, who's our friend as well. His grandmother's revered soup. She said it was in their family for years. Everyone loves it. And she shared it with me, and we all love it too. You can make that in a slow cooker, which is what I typically do. I have made it in the Instant Pot before when I got home at 4 and I really wanted that soup. I made it in the Instant Pot, but I always prefer the slow cooker with soups and stews over the Instant Pot because I just think long, low, and slow makes a better soup or stew or chili. And then I'm going to give you another tip while I'm on that. I also try to make most of my soups, stews, and chilies a day ahead because I think they're better the next day. If I can't make them the day ahead, I get everything started as soon as I get up in the morning, where the soup or stew or chili has all day to cook long, low, and slow. It's just better. So Grandma Grace's vegetable soup is fabulous. It's hearty. It's vegetarian. I think it's Whole30, paleo. The cabbage gives it a heartiness that actually I served it to some friends one night and they thought that it had meat in it. It's very hearty. Okay, so that's a good one. Now, along the same lines, I've got another soup that has cabbage, but it also has meat, and it's called Beefy Cabbage Soup. And it is low carb. Okay, this is the one that's low carb, high protein, Whole30, keto, paleo. The Grandma Grace's has a lot of vegetables and I think it may be a little higher in carb than the Beefy Cabbage Soup. The Beefy Cabbage Soup is, I think, a version of that soup that people they'll like eat it for a week to lose weight or be on a diet. I'm not sure. There's origins of it that I think this sprang from, but anyway, it's very good, very easy to make. And if you're just looking for a good, easy soup that has cabbage and ground beef, that's a good one. I'm not going to talk long about the turkey chili because it and the Brunswick stew, guys, I think I've done podcasts on both of these where I go into detail about how to make them. But suffice it to say, the turkey chili it's our favorite, and it's the best chili I've ever had. It is a Junior League cookbook award-winning recipe where I believe there was a competition amongst Junior League cookbooks across the U.S., and this won the chili competition. And it's turkey, and it has lots of beans, It has some maple syrup, which you don't want to leave out. It just adds to it. And it's just wonderful. And I share a lot of tips on the blog post that I did about it for making it its best. And part of that is start early, because when you're dealing with turkey, it takes longer, in my opinion, for it to truly take the turn where it looks like it's not pale and gray, but it looks like maybe ground beef. It just absorbs that rich, deep, tomatoey color, and it just, any of the extra virgin olive oil that's in there sort of settles at the top, and it just has that long, slow cooked, appetizing look and best flavor. So you always want to start that early as well. And again, most of these I serve the cheesy cornbread, pimento and cheese cornbread recipe that's on the blog. Okay, last one. Mimi, Zane's mom, who's a fabulous cook, she made this, and I put it on the blog. I could not believe how great it was. She made it one Christmas. You know, at the end of the Christmas season, you're tired of turkey, you're tired of ham, you're tired of, we do a lot of beef tenderloin. You're just ready for something different. And this fits the bill. It's so good. And you can make it in your slow cooker. It's sausage and cheese tortellini soup. And it is so delicious at the end of the year. It has Italian sausage that you're going to brown instead of ground beef. You'll be using Italian sausage. You can do hot Italian, sweet Italian, but it's just no other flavor. You can't get that from anything else. And then it's got, you want to use fresh garlic, the best tomatoes. It's got spinach, and you want to make sure you've got a good Parmesan rind, because you're going to put that in there. And Parmesan rind makes an Italian soup or a lasagna soup or any kind of Italian sauce. It just infuses it with that rich flavor that you're only going to get from the rind. And you want to use good Parmesan, because you're going to top it off with that. And tortellini, I typically do a cheese tortellini, but you can use any tortellini, and you add that typically toward the very end. And you serve that with a crusty artisan bread. And guys, it is fabulous. It's fabulous. So anyway, those are some things that we make during the soup season. And again, can't recommend this beautiful by Drew Barrymore slow cooker. I'm going to link to all the recipes and the slow cooker in the show notes. And as always, I'm so grateful to all of you for watching or listening. And until next time, you have a fabulous rest of your day. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the SavvyCast. If you'll take the time to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, that would mean so much. As always, thank you for listening, and have a blessed day.